evening, Gary.
Good evening, Rich. It's daytime here.
Is it daytime? What time is it? It's 4:30,
Isn't
4:40?
6 o'clock evening?
Uh, I don't know. When it comes to daylight savings time in the Northwest, I just kind of feel like hibernating through the whole thing, waking up in spring and eating berries or something. I don't know. But all I know is it's getting dark early.
And it's staying dark late.
It is staying dark later too, but that's
We've got
okay.
until the 21st for that to start reversing.
I sleep from 9 till 9, so since I'm a new retiree, I'm sleeping in to catch up on the last 45 years. So anyway, and how's things up in beautiful Riderwood today?
Oh, it's really nice, and we got a chance on getting some good cable, good fiber internet up here. We're going to be looking into that. So I'm real excited about that.
That's great. They don't run fiber where I'm at. I'm on the bottom of a hill, and they haven't been able to run fiber down here, so I'm stuck with copper.
Well, it's only a couple hundred yards from our house. At least they got signs saying it's there. The cable's buried there. So,
well, that's
nice. Cool.
Yeah, that's nice, especially for our podcast here. So, Gary, who do we belong to? Who do we hang out with every weekend?
Well, we hang out with the 49ers Fogies, which just happens to be a part of the Niner Empire, Vancouver, Southwest Washington.
That's right. That's right. We're here for everybody in Southwest Washington, and we have a whole lot of fun doing this. We're going to start having. We had a great crowd this weekend. I'd say if we just had a couple hundred more people, it'd be great. But we had a nice, and I say that, and I'm not joking. That's how much space the restaurant will give us. But yeah, we had a real nice crowd this weekend, the biggest one of the year. Of course, it was Seattle. But people could have stayed at home and watched it. Instead, they came out to watch it as a group, and I think it shows how important these games are to 49er fans.
Well, someone at our Fogies table won a jersey.
Somebody did win a jersey at our Fogies table.
That's happened to be sitting at our table.
Yeah. Who? Yeah, that was Scott that won that jersey, right?
Yeah, he bought what, $40 worth of tickets?
Oh yeah. No, Mark. Yeah. He bought $40 worth of tickets, and he won almost every round. So that's the way to do it, and it helped out the club. We had a great weekend for the club as well. So just all together really nice. And of course, at Heathen, where we watch our games, the hosts and the folks, the Wade folks are wonderful, and we had a really great time. We had a really great time.
I had some stuff to say to you a week ago. Well, I have the same thing in reverse this week.
I'm not reversing anything I said last.
Oh boy, so Gary, you called this one all the way.
Well, yeah, I sure did.
And what I saw wish I did in the previous game from their line, they didn't look like they were full of hustle, but they weren't dragging like they were in the other game.
Yeah,
they did just enough to win.
Who, their defensive line?
Their team, offense and defensive line, just enough to win.
Yeah, they had some pretty nice stats against us. Things like total yards were close. We actually had more total yards, about 40 more total yards than those guys. And we had just about the same rushing plays, but our average gain in this game, Gary, was 2.8 yards a carry, and theirs was 5.4 yards a carry, with Adrian Peterson and some guy named Travis Homer, who had 3 attempts for 80 yards and a touchdown.
Well, Homer's been looking pretty good all year long.
He's only carried the ball 3 times in this game. And yeah, carried the ball 3 times for 80 yards and a touchdown.
Well, so they beat us with special teams.
Special teams, ultimately, that was the final score, right? Was that fake punt.
There's no excuse for that fake punt touchdown. No excuse whatsoever.
No, it was really bad. I was walking right back into the room right as that was ending. So I got to see the celebration, but I didn't actually see the play. Gary, can you dial us in on that play a little bit?
Well, they snapped it to the front, the middle guy that calls the plays,
right,
instead of back to the punter, and there was no one doing outside contain whatsoever. We don't rush guys on the outside like a lot of teams do, and I'm sure they picked that up.
Yep.
And yep. I mean, it was a wipeout. It was, I mean, if I would have been Shanahan, I would have fired the special team coach right then and there.
Yeah, we sure didn't seem to be ready for a whole lot. And so that's a great description, Gary. Here's another thing we talked about last week, and this one was actually one I thought, gee, we might have a chance of doing pretty well here, because Seattle's defensive line has been easy to run on all year long. They've been outrushed in every game until they played us. And so our net yards rushing was 71 yards total. That's our net yard rushing. That includes Garoppolo. Of course, that includes Mitchell. 71 total yards. They more than doubled us. They ran for 146 yards with beat up guys and Adrian Peterson.
Seems like every time we had a good play, we got some kind of a penalty on it, and it came back.
I was looking at penalties too.
We had the phantom call on Tomlinson.
Well, you know what? I mean, we could blame it on penalties all day. And
no,
we had 10 penalties for 86 yards, and they had 6 for 40. So yep, we did get called for more. But we
got them called at critical times. And some of them are real hard to prove. I mean, I don't understand that last one on Tomlinson. That he was doing nothing. I'll get some video of it when the all 22 comes out. I mean, that didn't cost us the game, but a whole bunch of stuff cost us the game.
Well,
we had the deck stacked against us, and we didn't do anything to overcome that.
No, we didn't. And we got to know that when we go into that place to play, it's such a hard place to play for an offense that it's really easy for the refs to see penalties because they can't hear anything. So they're watching even more closely. When Seattle's out there, you can hear a pin drop in that place. And they just get away with more. I know everybody was talking. There was a pass interference call in the end zone, and Gary, I don't remember who the 2 players were, but it was Seattle. It was Seattle on offense.
You mean the no call? Oh
no, this one was a pass interference call. Everybody in the whole place was yelling that it wasn't a pass interference, and I watched the play over and over and over again, and I think it was Mosley that was covering, pushed the guy right in the middle of the back. That's pass interference.
Yeah, but it was no different than the no call against Sherfield at the end of the game. Absolutely no different.
Yeah,
and we didn't get that one. So if you're going to make a questionable call, make it consistent. And that was the biggest problem with it. They weren't consistent.
Yeah, they weren't consistent.
But regardless of that, we should have won the game. We just didn't play good enough to win the game.
We did not. And that's really what it boiled down to. I think Garoppolo, if you look at his numbers and compare them to Russell's numbers, they're real similar. Russell Wilson had a nice day. He was 30 for 37, 231 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also threw an interception. And Jimmy was 20 for 30, so his average wasn't as good as Wilson's. But he threw for 299 yards, almost 300 yards. So he threw for more yardage than Wilson. That's because we couldn't run. And that's a bad combination for the 49ers. Jimmy threw for 2 touchdowns. He threw threw 2 interceptions. But I thought that Jimmy's best pass of the day, that his best pass of the day was to Bobby Wagner. Boy, hit him right in the numbers, right in between 2 Niner wide receivers. And I'm being facetious now, Gary. But I think that play summarized the whole game. You know the play I'm talking about, right? I mean, he hit him right between the numbers. I mean, he couldn't have made a better pass. There was nobody else around. It was like being in the Twilight Zone.
Well, you know what caused it?
No.
Well, Jimmy saw him coming in, so he tried to look some guys off and do some stuff, and then went back to throw it. And by the time he'd thrown it, he'd already backed up to right into the path of the ball. So he read the play, knew what was going on, and moved into the position to make it happen.
Yeah. Bobby Wagner is the number 1 linebacker in football. He's got 158 tackles this year. So, we were kind of joking around about him getting old, etc.
Well, he is still getting old.
He is getting old, but he's not slowing down. He's still the number 1 linebacker.
Sideline to sideline quite as quick as he used to be.
He's got 158 tackles.
But that has nothing to do with sideline to sideline.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He can drop back into coverage. He can still do the things that made him great. I just have a ton of respect for that.
I'll put Fred Warner against him in a race anytime.
Well, Fred Warner's 6-7 years younger than that guy, right?
Well, so, you just said he wasn't getting old.
Oh no, I didn't. No, he's getting old, but he's certainly not getting dumb. He's real smart.
Yeah,
and he knows how to read an offense, and he calls the plays, and he does it well.
At least he knows how to read the 49ers.
Yeah, he sure does. But he's reading the whole NFL right now. He's reading everybody they play. He's playing well. Their secondary has been their weakness, and their defensive line has given up a lot of yards rushing. I mean, their stats say they're not a very good team. Their win-loss record says that they're mediocre. But Russell Wilson missed 3 games. They got beat last week for the 3rd time in a row with Wilson back, got the pin out of his finger. Man, he sure didn't look like anything was wrong with his finger this weekend.
Well, he had a couple of throws that weren't quite so good, but he's getting better every week with being able to control that ball.
Oh, yeah. And, it kills me, that they lose running back after running back after running back. And so they play a 3rd stringer and a guy that was sitting on the couch, and they run for 160 yards against us. It's just crazy to me how consistently they pick us apart. And you know what? I as you know, I do not like Pete Carroll. I don't think anybody outside of Seattle likes Pete Carroll. But we were once again outcoached. Clearly outcoached. Got any comments on that, Gary?
I don't know whether he was outcoached or not. We just weren't executing. I mean, Brunskill had a very bad game. He was running around the field with like a chicken with his head cut off. He made some good plays. All of the guys made some good plays, but they all also made some bad plays. They were in the wrong place. I thought
Mac had a nice.
And, we just chalk that one up, put it in the rear view, and head on down the road.
Yeah. I thought Mac had a nice game. We didn't come out of this thing in real healthy condition. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention, and I keep saying this guy's name week after week, and he keeps performing, and that's Aziz Al-Shayer. He said his career high was 16 total tackles this weekend. He was calling the plays out there because Fred Warner wasn't out there. And his previous high was 10 tackles. So he broke his previous high by 6. That guy had an outstanding game. I mean, and I continue to like him a lot. I think he was a great pick by the Niners. I think it was a 6th round pick. And the guy's just playing lights out. What do you think?
I think he's a very good linebacker. I didn't pick him as my defensive player of the game.
Really?
No.
I did.
I figured you would.
Oh yeah, I picked him as the defensive player of the game. Easy, the defensive player of the game, and Bosa had a pretty good game too. But I don't want to steal your thunder. So, running backs, we're in trouble, man. So Trenton Cannon, obviously, that was a real scary play, a real scary moment. But he's out of the hospital. He's back home. He's under concussion protocol. And I doubt seriously we'll see that guy this weekend. He got hurt pretty bad. If you remember, Elijah Mitchell went out as well. And then he came back in. He came back into the game and he finished it off. He had 22 carries for 66 yards. So, I mean, he really wasn't that explosive guy that we've seen over the past 4 or 5 weeks. He did have a touchdown, but as soon as he got back, they put him on concussion protocol. So it makes me wonder why he was even back out there at all, unless the 49ers were just desperate to win this game. How do you call
our offensive line stunk?
It did. How do you get 3? And Jeff Wilson Jr. got hurt. He hurt his knee. So you got an offensive line letting 3 running backs get hurt. 3 of them.
Well,
we got Jermichael
we lost Kittle off of the line because he was doing too many other things.
You're right. But he also caught for 180 yards.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying that it wasn't good what he was doing. But I'm saying that affected the line.
We really we put our eggs in one basket when it came to Kittle this weekend, and I guess it's because Debo was out, but no Debo, no Winbo, right?
Yeah.
And that's bad. That's bad. We should be able to plug somebody in, make some adjustments, and do well. And as you said, talking about just a line play, we made no adjustments. We do the same thing every time. And running up the middle, as you know, I complain about that every week. Complaining about it again. We couldn't do anything up the middle.
Warner's been looking pretty good, and they got him basically because he was a good blocker.
Yeah.
So once the all 22 come out, I'll do a little deep dive on that too, to look at that. But,
Okay.
they've been,
So
NFL's been really lagging with getting the all 22 out.
getting the all 22.
Yeah, that's the play-by-play. You have the sideline view and the end zone view, so you can really look at the plays.
You know what?
I'm curious to dive into that and see what the problem with the line was.
Yeah.
But I did have an offensive lineman stand out.
Oh, who's that?
Who do you think?
Trent. He had a great game.
But we'll get to those later.
Yeah. Hey, we got one running back coming into Cincinnati, and that's Jermichael Hasty. That's it. That's what we got. We're going to have to pull somebody up from the practice squad, or we're going to have to do what Seattle did and go find some guy that used to run real well and put him in our system and hope he can run well.
Well, there's one guy out there.
Who's that?
Frank Gore.
Oh, wow. That would be something.
And for one game, we could always bring in the Beast.
We could. I thought about that. I actually thought about that. He's right in Oakland. All he's got to do is just, drive down Highway 880 and he's there.
Seattle did it last year.
They did. And
he wasn't fantastic, but he got the job done.
Well, he just takes up space and he can fall forward for 3 yards, I'll put it this way. If the Niners don't do something and they're going to just rely on Jermichael Hasty and sub in some guys off the practice squad here and there, I'll be extremely upset with the coaching. And at that point, you have to wonder what they're playing for. Are they really playing for the
let's use juice
playoffs?
More.
Well, when we did, it was great, right?
Yeah.
I like that one play where Jimmy way overthrew him. It almost got picked. You know what I'm talking about, right? And then the very next play, they went back to him for a first down. There you go. There's some coaching. That was nice. That was a really nice play. I like that. I like the fact that they went straight back to him.
Let's give him 10, 12 carries for the
yeah. Why not? If Jermichael Hasty's the only guy we have, that's a great suggestion.
Well, let's run some old school football and halfback running.
Niner West Coast offense, right? Earl Cooper as a fullback. Go back to what worked under Walsh when it comes to the running game, and let that fullback be a weapon instead of a blocker. Tom Rath.
Well, you remember the old handoff, right? The fullback on one side, the halfback on the other.
Oh yeah.
And one would get the ball, and the other one was a fake.
Yep.
That used to work really well.
That was the split T offense, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, the split T. God, we're old, Gary. We scored 0 points in the second half. We were winning the game, went into halftime. They made adjustments. We did nothing. They scored 23 points in the second half.
Well, we actually scored one touchdown at the end of the game. It got taken. It didn't get given to us because of the guy was holding. Not us holding, them holding.
Yeah.
That was a touchdown.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That really gripes me because that was no different than the one that they got. But hey,
and it was
bygones. The refs are a bunch of crap anyway, so who cares?
that actually worked to their favor. To have that penalty, yeah, very, very, very painful. I mean, I guess we could beat a dead horse all day long, but here's there's the little things, right? I started digging around and looking for different things. We had 5 third down conversions on 15 attempts. They did. Seattle did. That's not much, right? That's 33.33%. So hardly a great rate. But 4 of those 5 came on Seattle's 3 touchdown drives. All of a sudden, those are really important third down conversions. And even though there's not many of them, when 80% of them bring you help you get into the end zone, those are big, right? So I don't know.
Well, let's talk about the good parts of the game.
Okay.
I thought defense played really well.
Yeah.
Defensive line, I thought, was pretty darn good.
They ran on over 130 yards on us. They ran for over 130 yards.
Yeah, but how many of those were long plays that made the yardage up?
Well, they were averaging 5.5.
That what was it, 75-yard fake field goal was a running play. And that's part of that.
I guess that's a 4th down play, right?
Yeah.
That is a running play. So you're right. That's an interesting point. Good point, Gary. So then that would mean that they only had 90 yards, 85 yards on the ground. So that would mean the defensive line did pretty well. And of course, the guys that we have out there on special teams aren't the same guys that we have out there when we're playing defense.
And Kittle did pretty good too.
Kittle was crazy good. I mean, he
had that tiptoeing down the sidelines.
Oh,
I want to try to play Tiny Tim's tiptoe through the tulips to it as he runs down the sideline. I'm going to be working on that. I'll put that out as a little special goodie.
And then there's Tiny Tim. That's again how we're showing our age here, because a lot of people watching the show wouldn't even know who Tiny Tim was.
Well, they've heard his voice. They may not know who he is, but they've heard his voice.
Yep. Because Tiptoe Through the Tulip is used on a million different commercials and TV shows. So I
just want to know how the heck he stayed upright and in bounds.
And he's just a really special player. If it wouldn't have been for Kittle, it would have been a really painful day.
Well, Ayuk had a pretty good game too.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't. Nothing jumped out when I was looking at Niners receivers.
He doesn't get targeted all that many times, but he did. Yeah. He did pretty good. Sherfield did okay.
Sherfield did okay. He did do okay.
And Juice did pretty good.
Juice did really well. Juice also blocked well.
So we had some up parts of that.
Yeah. So Gary, the internet's going crazy with it's time to sit Jimmy down. What's your thoughts?
No way. We're still in the playoffs. We may be the 7th seed, but we're still in the playoffs.
We are still in the playoffs. As of today, if the season was over, we'd be the 7th seed. You're absolutely right. So,
and the teams that we're up against, we beat. The one that we haven't is the WTF, the Washington Team Football.
Oh, that's I like that name. Yeah, Yeah, but we don't have an easy schedule ahead of us.
Oh, it's not that bad.
There's some tough teams, and maybe some teams that
we'll get to that in the next game.
We will, but one thing I want to make sure of, based on this last game here, they can't look past anybody. And that was the other thing I felt about this game, Gary. I felt like we went in there thinking that we were going to blow those guys out, that we were going to beat them up bad. And I think that we were overconfident. And I think that our coaches didn't do enough to mix it up because they felt we could just outmuscle these guys. And that's kind of my last thought on this was, yeah, there was guys out there making plays and they weren't executing very well. But once again, I'm horribly underwhelmed by our coaching staff.
Well, if we'd have played some offense in the second half, we'd have won that game, no problem.
They outplayed us in the second half. I just don't. I mean, they made adjustments, and they were getting people wide open.
Well, one thing that I've seen as far as adjustments go, and I can kind of see it, but a lot of coaches won't make adjustments at halftime if they're winning, if what they're doing is working. And you still have to fine tune what you're doing, because now if you're beating them 50-0, okay, you shouldn't have to do that. But if you're just barely beating them and everything's looking good, there's still some stuff you can change that makes it better. Yeah. And that's been my philosophy for years, is that I keep seeing this in these coaches that, being an ex-Charger fan, we were really good at beating teams in the first half.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually, if you look back at our previous games, and we were on a 4-game winning streak, or 4 out of 5. Yeah, I've felt like we were threatened in the second half in all of those wins. We won those games in the first half by getting out in front enough and then letting our defense take it home. And
totally agree.
And can't do that with this team. We just history says we can't. And I think it's time to quit beating this dead horse. So speaking of history, Gary, you want to take us out of here on this thing?
Well, I want to do our players of the week.
Oh,
and then we'll head on out.
All right.
Hey, your offensive player of the week.
My offensive player of the week, Kittle, of course.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah, if we don't have Kittle.
So my offensive player of the week
was Kittle?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I mean, how can you not give it to the guy?
Yeah.
The guy, 10 passes for 100 yards. I mean.
He ran out of the backfield.
Yeah. He was, yeah, you're right. He did. I picked up a first down, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's an easy one. Kittle is definitely the offensive player of the game. I'm going to give you a GOAT. My offensive GOAT of the game is Jimmy. I thought this was a really bad game.
My offensive lineman of the game, Trent Williams.
Oh, yeah.
And he wasn't perfect, but he was so much better than the rest of the offensive line that he had to be.
Yep. Well, they started stacking it on the other side. And that's when things got real ugly. So we both have the same offensive player of the week. Who you got for defense, Gary?
Oh, who do you have?
Well, you know who I have.
Aziz.
Aziz, my man.
Yeah, well, my offensive player of the game is 2 linemen.
Really?
2 defensive linemen.
Okay, I know who one of them is. I was wearing his
Bosa.
Yeah.
And DJ Jones.
DJ Jones, Seth.
Those 2 there, right. I thought that between those two guys there, they did a heck of a job.
DJ Jones had a good game.
They get defensive player of the game. It takes two of them to do it. And I don't have a defensive lineman of the game unless I have two of them too.
Yeah. No, DJ Jones had a really good game. You're right.
Yes, he did.
I believe he forced a fumble, right?
I don't remember.
I do. He got in the backfield and one of Wilson's fumble. He's the one that got in there and knocked that thing.
Yeah, I believe so now.
He was the one that knocked it loose.
I vaguely remember.
Yeah. No, I remember them announcing it, and I remember him getting up and pounding his chest and doing all that stuff. So anyway, I got nothing more on this one, Gary.
Well, the nice thing about history is it's in the past, and that's where this game belongs.
It certainly
because without that past, you don't have a future.
That's right, Gary. And so with that, take us out of here.
Okay. Without a past, you do not have a future.
All right. Thanks,
See you guys
Gary.
next time.
We'll see y'all next time. Go Niners.
Go Niners.